They weren't flashy, they weren't built for speed, but these engines, they refused to die. Some racked up 1,000,000 miles without breaking a sweat. Others powered taxis, farm trucks, and even war machines across the globe. And they're still running today. From mechanical legends to engineering miracles, these are the 10 old engines that were built to last forever. Number 10, Toyota 22R. The Toyota 22R wasn't the fastest or the most powerful, but it earned a reputation that few engines could ever match. It just refused to quit. Introduced in 1981 and produced until 1995, this 2.4-liter four-cylinder became the backbone of Toyota pickups and 4Runners through the 80s and early 90s. Its secret, simplicity. The 22R featured a timing chain, a cast iron block, and a straightforward design that made it easy to maintain. Early carbureted versions and later fuel-injected 22REs both earned praise for shrugging off neglect. Missed an oil change, cheap fuel, extreme heat. The 22R usually kept on running. High mileage stories are everywhere. 500,000 miles without a rebuild isn't unusual. Owners often joke that the truck's body would rust into dust long before the engine gave up. And to this day, off-roaders and gearheads still hunt for these engines, calling them bulletproof and the cockroach of motors. Number 9, Mercedes-Benz OM617. If the Toyota 22R proved itself on dirt roads and trails, the Mercedes-Benz OM617 became a legend on city streets. Built from 1974 to 1991, this 3.0-liter inline-5 diesel powered everything from the W123 sedans to the legendary W126S class. What set it apart? Over-engineering. The OM617 was designed with a cast-iron block and head, a simple indirect injection system, and virtually no fragile electronics. It wasn't fast. Most models barely cracked 120 horsepower. But what it lacked in speed, it made up for in sheer longevity. The proof? Taxi fleets from Europe to Africa ran these engines for 500,000 to 1,000,000 kilometers before even thinking about a rebuild. In fact, Mercedes once advertised that a Greek taxi driver's OM617 powered car passed 1,000,000 kilometers on the original engine, cementing its reputation worldwide. Today, these engines still show up in developing countries, swapped into trucks, boats, and even generators. Owners joke that the body will disintegrate into rust long before the OM617 gives up. Number 8, Dodge Jeep 230 Flathead 6. While Mercedes diesels were hauling passengers through crowded cities, this next engine was fighting a war. The Dodge 230 cubic inch Flathead inline 6, built from the 1930s through the early 1960s, became a military workhorse during World War II. It powered Dodge WC trucks, power wagons, and early post-war Jeeps. On paper, the numbers weren't impressive. Most versions made around 90 horsepower, but the magic was in its design. A cast iron flathead layout with virtually no complexity. Fewer moving parts meant fewer things to break, and mechanics in the field loved it because you could strip it down and rebuild it almost anywhere with basic tools. Soldiers trusted it in deserts, jungles, and mountains alike. After the war, these same engines kept running in civilian Dodge trucks and power wagons, often outlasting the body and chassis they came in. Even decades later, farm owners and restorers report them still firing up with minimal fuss. This engine proved one thing: reliability isn't always about power. It's about being able to survive the harshest conditions when failure isn't an option. Number 7, Chevrolet Small Block 350. If the Dodge Flathead proved itself on the battlefield, the Chevrolet Small Block 350 became the everyday hero of American driveways. First introduced in 1967, this 5.7-liter V8 quickly became one of the most produced and beloved engines in history. Why? Versatility. The 350 wasn't just reliable, it was adaptable. Chevy dropped it into everything: Camaros, Corvettes, Impalas, pickups, station wagons, and even boats. Mechanics loved it because parts were cheap and everywhere. Hot rodders loved it because it could be tuned for power, and everyday families loved it because, even abused, it kept going. The numbers speak for themselves. Chevrolet built over 90 million small blocks, and the 350 became the most famous version of them all. Millions are still running today, powering daily drivers, classic restorations, and backyard project cars across the country. Unlike some overbuilt diesels, the 350 wasn't indestructible. It could wear out, but what gave it forever status was how easily it could be rebuilt again and again. For many gearheads, it wasn't just an engine, it was the heart of American car culture. Number 6, Toyota 1HZ Diesel. While the Chevy 350 symbolized American versatility, the Toyota 1HZ became a global symbol of indestructibility. Introduced in 1990, this 4.2-liter inline-six diesel-powered Land Cruisers and commercial Toyota trucks that worked in deserts, jungles, and war zones. The formula was simple: cast iron block, cast iron head, and no turbo. By avoiding extra complexity, Toyota built an engine that could handle extreme heat, dirty fuel, and almost no maintenance. Mechanics in remote regions loved it because the 1HZ could be stripped down and fixed with basic tools, and it would usually start right back up after. These engines routinely clock 500,000 kilometers and beyond, with stories of them pushing past 1 million kilometers in African and Australian service. Land Cruisers fitted with the 1HZ became the vehicle of choice for aid workers, mining crews, and militaries, anyone who needed an engine that simply wouldn't quit no matter the conditions. And while newer diesels chase performance, the 1HZ is still prized for its legendary toughness. In many parts of the world, if you ask which vehicle will always get you home, the answer is a Land Cruiser with a 1HZ. Number 5. Cummins 6 BT 5.9. If the Toyota 1HZ proved itself in deserts and war zones, the Cummins 6BT proved itself on American highways and farms. Launched in 1989 for Dodge Ram trucks, this 5.9-liter inline-six turbo diesel completely changed what people expected from a pickup engine. The 6BT wasn't complicated. It used a cast iron block and head, a simple mechanical Bosch injection pump, and massive internals that could handle abuse. Rated around 160 to 215 horsepower and 400 to 440 pound-feet of torque. It wasn't flashy, but it pulled like a freight train. Farmers, contractors, and truck owners quickly discovered they could haul heavy loads all day long without wearing it out. Its reputation for longevity is legendary. With proper maintenance, 500,000 miles isn't uncommon, and there are countless examples still running strong after 3 decades of service. In fact, fleets and enthusiasts still rebuild and reuse these engines, often swapping them into everything from classic trucks to school buses. The 6BT also sparked the diesel revolution in American pickups. Before it, most trucks relied on gas V8s or weak diesels. After it, heavy-duty diesels became the standard for towing, hauling, and outlasting just about everything else on the road. Number 4. Honda D-Series. While the Cummins 6BT was making noise on farms and highways, Honda's D-Series quietly earned its place as one of the most dependable engines ever built for everyday drivers. Produced from the mid-1980s through the mid-2000s, the D-Series came in dozens of variations, powering Civics, CRXs, and even some Accords. What made it special wasn't raw power, it was refinement and reliability. Most D-Series engines were small displacement 4-cylinders, ranging from 1.2 to 1.7 liters, designed to sip fuel while lasting forever. With single overhead cam simplicity and Honda's precise engineering, these engines routinely ran well past 200,000 to 300,000 miles with little more than oil changes. They weren't exciting, but they were trustworthy. College kids, families, and commuters all drove Civics with D-Series engines that just kept going. Many became first cars, hand-me-downs, and eventually daily beaters that refused to die. Even today, it's common to find 1990s Civics with their original D-Series still purring along. For gearheads, the D-Series wasn't legendary for speed, but it became a blank canvas. Cheap, easy to swap, and surprisingly tough, tuners pushed them far past their modest factory limits. But even stock, the D-Series proved something important. Reliability doesn't have to be boring. It can become the reason a brand earns lifelong fans. Number 3. Detroit Diesel Series 71. If Honda's D-Series was the quiet commuter, the Detroit Diesel Series 71 was the unstoppable workhorse of commercial duty. First introduced in 1938, this two-stroke diesel engine family powered everything from city buses and semi-trucks to boats, military vehicles, and construction equipment. The most famous version, the inline-six 671, displaced 7 liters and produced anywhere from 160 to 238 horsepower, depending on configuration. But power wasn't the reason it became legendary. It was durability and versatility. These engines could be run flat out for hours, even days, without quitting. Mechanics often joked that if you kept fuel and oil flowing, a 71 series would run forever. And run forever they did. Fleet operators racked up million-mile lifespans, while military and industrial operators valued them because they could be repaired in the field, and parts were available everywhere. Their two-stroke design gave them a unique screaming sound. Loved by some, hated by others, but unmistakable wherever they worked. Even today, you can still find Series 71s in service around the world, particularly in marine applications, proving that nearly 90 years later, this engine family refuses to die. Number 2, Chevrolet 235 inline 6 Stovebolt. While the Detroit 71 was powering trucks and ships, the Chevrolet 235 inline 6 was quietly becoming the backbone of American family transportation, first appearing in 1941 and produced through 1962. The 235 became famous for its toughness, simplicity, and sheer staying power. Nicknamed the Stovebolt for its slotted fasteners that resembled old wood stove bolts, the 235 was a cast iron inline 6 that displaced 3.9 liters and produced between 85 and 150 horsepower, depending on the year and carburetor setup. It wasn't built for speed, it was built to work. Throughout the 1940s and 50s, the 235 powered Chevrolet's sedans, trucks, and even Corvettes, before the small block V8 took over. Farmers loved it because it could run forever with minimal maintenance, and families trusted it because it would start every morning, rain or shine. But if the Chevy 235 was the steady family workhorse, our number 1 engine takes things to an entirely different level. An engine so overbuilt, so enduring, that it's still in production today, decades after its debut. Number 1, Isuzu 4 BD1 and 4 BD2 Diesel. If the Chevy 235 earned fame for carrying families through mid-century America, the Isuzu 4 BD1 and 4 BD2 earned their reputation by outlasting nearly everything else on the road. First produced in the 1970s, these 3.9-liter 4-cylinder diesels powered Isuzu NPR trucks, military vehicles, buses, and countless commercial rigs around the world. Why are they legendary? Like the other immortals on this list, the 4BD engines were mechanically simple and brutally tough. With a cast iron block and head, gear-driven timing, and direct injection, they were built to survive non-stop operation. Owners routinely report 500,000 to 1 million kilometers, 310,000 to 620,000 miles, before even needing a rebuild. The military loved them for the same reason farmers and fleet operators did. They could take abuse and keep going. In Australia, 4 BD1 powered trucks are still on the road after decades of daily service. In South America and Africa, they're used in buses and cargo haulers where maintenance is scarce, and enthusiasts even swap them into Land Rovers and off-road rigs, knowing they'll never be left stranded.